Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned card maker, I have a really fun fold to share with you today. This is the front flip fun fold. And what I love about it is that only part of the card front flips open to reveal the greeting underneath. It is such a simple design, but creates a fun surprise for the recipient. Now, one of my favorite things about this fold is how versatile it is. You can use one large image across the front or use up some of your favorite pattern paper scraps. Stick around and I'll show you exactly how to make it step by step. It's easier than it looks and comes together beautifully. Hey everyone, it's Colorado Lean. Welcome back to the craft room. I have a few cards that I want to make with you today, so let's jump right in by cutting our card base. I'm going to be working with 110-pound Recollections cardstock in black. And we need to cut this down to a regular size A2 card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I started by cutting my paper in half at 5 1/2, and now I will trim it down to 4 1/4. Now, I don't know what it is about Recollections card, but it is not exactly 8 1/2 by 11. So when I trim down all of my card bases, I always end up with a little bit left over to make it the correct size. Now that I have my card bases cut down to size, I am going to cut down this flap. So I will bring in another piece of the 110-pound Recollections card, and I need to cut this to 3 inches wide by 8 1/2 inches tall. And here are the pieces that we need for our card base. We need a back piece that is 4 1/4 inches tall by 5 1/2 inches wide. And then for the flap, we need a piece that is 8 1/2 inches tall by 3 inches wide. So the first thing we need to do is score our flap. And we're just going to score this at 4 1/4 inches. I'm not going to be using any mats underneath my pattern paper today. However, if you would like to cut one, you'll need approximately 5 3/8 of an inch wide by 4 1/8 inch tall. And then for your front flap, you'll need one that measures about 2 7/8 of an inch wide by 4 1/8 inch tall. So let's go ahead and set this aside and start gluing our card base together. As always, I'm going to use the tools at my disposal to get things as straight as possible. And today I'm going to bring in my mini MISTI. I decided to add some 1/4 inch score tape to the back of my flap because it will be doing a lot of work and I want to make sure this stays in place. Now on top of that, I am going to be putting some Bearly Art Precision Glue. And I'm going to line this up in the middle. So on my MISTI, I'm going to place it about 1 1/4 inches from the edge. And then I'm just going to burnish that down with my bone folder. Now this flap is hanging over just a little bit on the bottom. So I'm going to line this back up in my guillotine trimmer and just take off any little bit that might be there. Okay, and there wasn't much at all. And there is our card base. For this first card, I'm going to be using 2 pieces of scrap paper from the Violet Leaf paper stack from Die Cuts with a View. And I'm going to use this really pretty leafy pattern for my card flap. So I'm going to cut this down to 2 3/4 of an inch. And then it will need to be 4 inches tall. And then for my side flaps, again, I need to trim this to 4 inches tall. And then I will need to trim these to 1 inch wide. And now we will just glue them into place. So I'm just going to use the Barely Art glue for my pattern paper. And as always, I do like to work sideways to kind of help me line things up a little bit. Now, if I was smart, I'd have a piece of white paper in here. And just grab a scrap. Okay. That just makes it a little bit easier to see. Okay. Then I'll just slip it under here. And add my side panels. And then I have cut a piece of white cardstock. This is, again, Recollections. This is 2 3/4 of an inch wide by 4 inches tall. And I will glue that to the inside of my card. For my sentiment, I'm going to be using the Hampton Art Layered Flower stamp set and the Thinking of You. So again, I will bring in my Mini Misty. And I think I want to cut that cardstock down a little bit more before I stamp on it. So let's just see what it looks like. Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm going to trim this down to 1 inch tall. And then as always, I'm going to be stamping with Gina K Designs Amalgam ink, which has been re-inked with Obsidian Black. And I'm not going to use my magnet, but I am going to make sure that I press that card back into the corner before I stamp each time. Okay, and that turned out beautifully. To add a little more to our card base, because you can never have too much gold, I cut this branch. This is the Paper Roses Small Leafy Branch die set. This is the larger of the 2 dies. And I cut that from the gold foil cardstock paper from Recollections. So I'm just going to add some Barely Art glue to the back and then just place that down. Now I do wish I had thin 3D foam squares in white. All I have at this time is black, and I don't want to use that. I think that would be a little bit too much. So I'm going to just cut some small strips from my scrap white card here. All right, so I have cut these down to, somewhere around 1/4 of an inch. They are less than an inch tall. And then I'm going to attempt to glue 2 of them together. All right, and then I'm just going to glue these to the end of my sentiment strip. And then that will give us just a little bit of dimension. So I will go ahead and glue that down. And I'm just going to put glue onto the pieces of cardstock that I added. And that is our first card. For our second card, I'm going to be using a scrap piece of paper from the Habitat paper pad from Recollections. And this is a good example of using a long image across the entire card front. This piece of paper is almost the correct size, but of course we do need to trim it up just a little bit. We need to make sure this is 4 inches tall, which it is. And for the width, we need a total of 4 3/4 of an inch. Because I'm going to be doing some smaller cuts, I am switching over to my 6.5-inch guillotine paper trimmer from Tim Holtz. What we want to do with images like this is we want to cut from left to right or right to left. We want to make sure we keep our images in order. So I'm going to make my first cut at 1 inch. And then I will set that off to the side. My next cut I want to make at 2 3/4 of an inch. And then I should have 1 inch left over, but it doesn't hurt to trim it up if you need to. And I did. Now I do want to stamp my sentiment onto this center piece. So I will move those little pieces over and bring in my Misty stamping tool again. For this card, I'm going to be bringing in the Gina K Designs by the Sea stamp set. This was illustrated by Teresa Momber, and it is an older set. It is a copyright from 2011, and I'm going to be stamping Happy Father's Day. Now, these are red rubber stamps, so I need to take out my foam mat. So I will place my pattern paper in. And set this down into place. Now on the red rubber stamps, I don't have an image on the back, but Gina K Designs always has fairly straight lines. So I'm able to line it up that way. And again, I will be using amalgam ink. And there is my sentiment. I have already put my card base together. Inside, I did use a piece of the ivory cardstock from the Coffee and Cream paper pack. Again, this is cut to 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And let's go ahead and adhere down our pattern paper to the sides. All right, my sentiment should be pretty dry. I am going to definitely be careful around it though, because I don't want it to smudge. However, if it does, I can always restamp it onto another piece of the ivory card. I'm going to do my best to line it up with the top and bottom. Again, I should have put another piece of paper under there so I can see. Okay, and there is our second card. My original thought for today was to create 2 cards with you and then show you 2 or 3 other examples that I'd made. However, while cleaning up my craft desk for today's video, I ran across this beauty. Now, this is a piece of the rose gold foil metallic cardstock from Recollections. And it is embossed with the Crafter's Companion 3D embossing folder, Pretty Florals, that I borrowed from my sister a couple months ago. And I just absolutely have to use this today. So I cut another piece and embossed it from a different section of the embossing folder. And I am also going to be using a scrap piece from my last card set. This is from the Sage Park Recollections paper pad. So again, I already have my card base made with the white inside. So let's go ahead and glue these in place. Now again, this is cut to 1 inch by 4 inches. Or no, I'm sorry, this is 1 inch by 4 1/8. So my side margins are going to be a little bit off, but that is going to work just fine. Now, if I had been paying a little closer attention, I would have made these a little bit wider. But I think I am really going to love this no matter what. Okay, so there is the start of our card. I have my cardstock mat cut to about 2 7/8 inch wide by a little taller. Well, actually, it's pretty tall. I'm going to have to trim this down a little bit so it's closer to 4 1/8 of an inch. All right, so the final tally is 4 1/8 inches tall by 2 7/8 inches wide. And then our pattern paper, of course, is 4 inches by 2 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue our pattern paper and our mat together. And this should give us about 1/8 of an inch around all sides. Of course, if it's not perfect, I am just fine with that. For the sentiment on this card, I'm going to use the Hampton Art Layered Butterfly, and I'm going to use the Hello Beautiful. And again, I am just going to stamp directly onto my pattern paper. Well, it looks like I did a little bit of stamp surgery on this at one time. So let's see if we can get that lined up correctly. Okay, I think I'm just going to stamp it and be happy with it. Because again, if there isn't some kind of a mistake on a handmade project, is it really handmade? And there's our sentiment. So let's go ahead and glue this down to our flap. And there is our finished card. Oh, that is just so beautiful. I had so much fun putting these front flip fun fold cards together. This design is a great way to use up pattern paper scraps, but it also works beautifully when you have a larger image you want to preserve, but still want to add a little extra interest to. Out of the 3 cards I made in today's video, my favorite has to be the last one with the embossed metallic cardstock. I absolutely love the shine and texture it adds to the design. I also challenged myself to dig through my sentiment stash and use some greetings that I don't normally reach for, which was a nice change from my usual favorites. Now, before we finish up, let me show you a few more front flip cards I've made using this same design. The first card I'd like to share with you is made with the Craft 110-pound card. The pattern paper is from a sample pad that I received in a Simon Says stamp kit 2 or 3 years ago. I used the Paper Rose small leafy branch die set as an accent. This is the larger of the 2 dies, and it is cut from the Canson Papercraft cardstock. I printed the Happy Father's Day sentiment off my computer, and I did a little bit of faux stitching with the Tombow brush pen, and I cannot pronounce the name of this pen, but I will go ahead and put the name of it up here, as well as a link for it down below. And the last card I want to share with you is made with 110-pound craft cardstock, and the pattern paper is the Steampunk Botanica Recollections Signature Special pattern paper. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever made the front flip fun fold card before? And which of today's cards was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And before you go, if you enjoyed this video and would like to help support smaller creators like me, YouTube has a feature called Hype that can help more people discover videos just like this one. If you see the Hype option available, I'd really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for spending some creative time with me today. If you enjoyed this project, I'd love it if you gave the video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next tutorial. I'll see you soon.